Happy Easter to everyone.
Happy Easter.
One of the most touching privileges we have as priests is people, friends, and those who believe in the Lord, those who put their trust in the ministry of a living church, even if we see big stones in front of us, is that they tell us all about their pains. People, friends, people tell us all about their joys, all about their problems, all about their fears and anxieties. And being a counselor, I have had more than my fair share of the joys, the hopes, the wishes, and the prayers, and the longings and lofty desires of people who want to look up and not below, who want to see things that are above and not the things that are here below. Where stones clutter our lives everywhere we go. At 2:07 this morning, one of those who I'm talking about texted me, "Father, please give my mother a blessing for the last time. She was dying." And I've been following the story for the past few days. The whole family got sick. He himself was sick. The father was sick. And the mother was most hard hit. At 2:07, here comes a request that comes from the heart. A heart that is filled with the joy of the Lord's resurrection and the hope that it brings, and yet saddened by the reality of death staring him in the face. I am beside myself with indescribable feelings. Today is a day of joy. And as St. Augustine said many hundreds of years ago, repeated by Pope St. John Paul II, we are an Easter people, and Alleluia is our song. But before we can sing Alleluia lustily to our heart's delight, I'd like us to remember that we need to take away that stone. And we have a big stone. You know, the Gospel of Mark repeats the word stone 4 times. And in the Gospel that we read this morning, an optional choice, because the real Gospel for this morning should be from John, but there is an option to use Mark 16:1-7. I thought I should use this because this is what I was reflecting on since 2 a.m. this morning. We are facing big stones, the stone of corruption. We are facing a big stone of dysfunctional politics. We are facing, each and every one of us, the big stone of fear. And many people die not of the COVID but of fear. We are facing the big stone of hard-headedness. We are facing the big stone of sinfulness, my own and yours, and the sin that we do together called social sin. Nobody feels guilty for it, but we are all guilty as hell. When we destroy Laguna de Bai, we destroy Pasig River. When we throw trash anywhere, when we cheat, we are facing the big stone. And that stone was that brought by Joseph of Arimathea. Joseph of Arimathea bought the tomb because he loved the Lord in secret and believed in him in secret. But that stone that I'm talking about is the stone that we all create for ourselves and for the world. The stone that the certain DOH people put as an obstacle to our getting healthier in a state of emergency. The stone that corrupt people put on our paths because they are connected with Pfizer or with Moderna or with these big pharmaceutical companies, and therefore they don't approve those alternative medicines that are meant to be used in a state of emergency. We are facing the stone of our hard-headedness, and therefore the prayer, the question rather of the three women, who will roll the stone for us? Because the stone is very large. But this is precisely the good news in today's gospel. The good news is that the first people who saw the reason, the fact, the reality of the resurrection were weak women who had no power, who relied on somebody else to roll the big stone for them. And that big stone didn't have to be rolled by any one of the weak women, because the Lord Himself rose in power. And what did they see? An angel dressed in white, reminiscent of the transfiguration, that reminds us of what we will be when our time comes. We are called to glory. The resurrection is not just an historical event. This is a pledge and a promise. And we are holding on to this promise, and we don't anymore cry out, who will roll the stone for us? Who will roll back the stone for us from the entrance to the tomb? You know what we need to do? You need, the real obstacle really is the stone of our doubt, the stone of our unbelief, the stone of our uncertainty, the stone of our fears and worries and anxieties, the stone that prevents us from going inside the tomb. And therefore, the real obstacle is for us to accept the reality of pain, the reality of death, the reality of suffering, the reality that is the burden of all created flesh, the way of all flesh, the reality that in order for us to achieve life eternal, we've got to take up that cross and follow Him inside the tomb. So, my dear brothers and sisters, the good news for us is very clear. We have to enter the tomb and not hesitate. The weak women did precisely that. Weak though they were, asking though they were about who would roll the stone for them, when they saw the tomb rolled back, they did not hesitate. They went right in. And because they went right in, they died with the Lord and therefore rose with Him, and therefore received the good news. You seek Jesus of Nazareth, the crucified. He has been raised. He is not here. Behold the place where they laid Him, but go and tell His disciples, He is going before you to Galilee. There you will see Him as He told you. We have a lot of work to do. The Lord has done His part by rising for us. The Lord has done His part by dying and suffering for us. We need to do our part. And the stones are much bigger than any one of us. The stones that block our path to total growth and to total development as a people, as a nation. The big stone of 200 ships that are staying right there in the West Philippine Sea. The big stone of rogue nations who want to control the world. The big stone of dysfunctional politics that make our poor people suffer all the more. We have the power to roll it back, and we all need to do our part. I end by quoting a Tagalog poem by Cedric Errol de Guzman. I know he means something else, but it could also mean for us in this day of the Lord's resurrection. It talks about hope. And this is what the resurrection is all about. Kahit makasalanan, biyaya ay kabutihan, pag-asa ay tangan. Sa madilim na yugto ng buhay tayo'y tutulungan. Sakripisyong di sukat akalain ang siyang nasilayan, payapang paraiso ang handog sa buong sanlibutan. Ang gabay na tanglaw ang simula at ang katapusan, di pa huli ang lahat, manalangin mariing pagsisihan. Ang mga kamalian, ang puso'y buksan sa kapwa at bayan. Pag-ibig ay yaman, hindi matatawaran, gamitin ang buhay sa tamang paraan. And I end with a strophe from my favorite poet, Francis Thompson. He talks about nature. He talks about the sea that has to fall down and die, and yet produces new life. And he says these two memorable lines: "For there is nothing dies, but something lives. And nothing lives, but something dies, till skies be fugitives." Let us revel in the historical fact that the Lord is risen. But let us rejoice that this resurrection is ours to claim, ours to do, ours to share, ours to proclaim, and ours to claim when the right time comes, in God's own good time. A blessed Easter to you all.